Good morning, and welcome to the Financial Pillars All About the Money podcast, presented by Our Neutral Voices Media. Our show is all about helping our audience understand money, mindsets, and tap into the economic knowledge that builds financially secure individuals, families, and communities. So whether you're tuning into our show to learn about budgeting, building credit, investing, or starting your own business, we're here to break down the knowledge in a real and relatable way. Okay. My name is Ryan Leppard, your host for the show. I'm a private banker with Star Financial Bank. I'm going to kick it over to my man, JJ.
JJ Foster, Assistant Vice President, Lake City Bank.
Ben Weibel, Branch Manager at Flagstaff Bank.
And Terrence Bush, a Universal Business Banker at Greenway Bank.
Yes, guys. So today we want to talk to you. We had our third installment of the Financial Literacy Series seminar that we just finished up a couple weeks ago.
YouSense. Yes.
Yep. Where we did a little role playing with our audience. Okay. What did you call that? Like a life
reality store.
Reality store brought to us by Lake City Bank.
Yes,
it was a pretty awesome concept. You want to tell us a little bit about it, JJ? Kind of paint that picture of what it looked like.
Sure, it's like what we said in the promo. Anybody that's played the game of life, very similar. The kids actually had opportunity to choose different careers. Each career obviously has a different amount of income that you make, annual salaries, and based off your annual salary, you had to learn how to navigate the barriers and pitfalls that we all have to, everybody on this panel and everybody that has a household has to navigate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and seeing some of the jobs those individuals got, I wanted to change careers. You know,
hey, no question. Well, some you wanted to change, others not so much. And it's funny because you already know when you get kids interacting, and you have somebody over here making $106,000 and somebody over here making $25,000. There was a little tension. So
yeah. So to kind of paint that picture also, they would start out at one booth where they would kind of get assigned a job, right? Piece of paper that had what they did, their annual income. And then there was different booths in the room where they would go around and different life choices to make. So for example, I got to go back into my past and sell cell phones again, right? Different cell phone plans. So when they came to my station, they had to decide on, do they want a basic phone, no internet? Did they want a internet plan, or did they want an unlimited internet plan? And then on top of it, if they went with an internet phone, did they want an Android, which was a little bit cheaper than going with an iPhone, like real life scenarios there. And I just thought it was interesting because I assumed everybody was going to go with an iPhone. Most of them did until I kind of talked them into, well, it does the exact same thing. You can save some money here by just going with an Android, but everybody's first choice was iPhone. Except for there were some there that just wanted a basic phone. They didn't want the internet. They didn't want all the data stuff that was going to come with it and the subscriptions, all that. Nope, I just want basic data phone. Some of them had spouses. Okay, I just want one phone. What's your spouse going to do? Well, they can fend for themselves.
Yeah,
absolutely. I will say some of the youth there were absolutely cutthroat.
Yes.
Just to speak to you being able to go back and sell cell phones again that you did in your past, I actually ended up at the insurance table, which is also something that I did in my past as well too. So it was kind of nice to get back into that. The amount of people that would come to my table and ask me why they needed medical insurance. I'm like, okay, so you're saving cash, correct? I'm like, yeah, okay. So say you save $5,000 and then your husband breaks his ankle. You have no medical insurance. I said, there goes your savings. Yeah. So a lot of them were against medical insurance. And one that stuck out to me the most was, so she was married and apparently they had 2 kids together. And I was like, so, you're going to be in the family plan. Of course, the family plan was about roughly $400. And she was like, well, can I just insure myself and my child? I'm like, well, what about your spouse? And she's like, well, I'm not worried about him. I said, but what about him? I was like, essentially, I was like, you're getting an extra $3,000 a month because your spouse is working. I said, if your spouse breaks his leg and he can't work, I said that $3,000 goes away. She said, well, I'm just going to leave him and remarry somebody else. And I was like, okay. I was like, so I mean, I thought it was kind of funny. Ankle. But yes, it was nice to see their brains engage in critical thinking in terms of how to best budget their finances so that they're able to still save money at the end of the day. And I think that was nice to see, especially in the terms of insurance, like the amount of people that complained about the insurance and having to pay for it. And then once I pretty much shed the light that I'm like, yeah, insurance helps save some money. You still have to pay a bill at the end of it. So that was nice.
But it's funny when you say cutthroat. Yeah, it's easy to be cutthroat when you're in charge of the money because how many of them right now are giving their parents heck about something? Hey, I really want this, but when it's your own money, all of a sudden your choices become different. Your wants and needs are all together different. And then the other thing that stood out to me, It's funny. Remember, you talked about insurance and savings were the last two stations that people went to. Everybody went to cell phones. They went over here. They went over there. But as we talked about the importance of insurance and the importance of savings, we actually had to coerce a couple of the kids. Hey, you might want to go over there. And it was like, oh. And then, like you said, you had to kind of talk them into even getting those policies.
So did we run into any situations where they had a good amount of savings or extra money left over but didn't want insurance?
So, I do believe that I actually spoke with every person there. I do believe everybody got insurance. There was one
So you did your
specific
job.
individual that I can definitely think of. Her income was only $29,000 and she had a child, so she couldn't afford insurance, essentially. And that is what the big key component of the day was. She wasn't happy with the job that she had, so she went and got another one so that she could afford all her wants and needs. And that was another big thing that we hit on towards the end of it, was the fact that if you don't like your current situation, you always have the power and the mindset to change it so that you have a better situation for yourself in the future.
Yeah. That's a good learning topic there. Did we talk about that beforehand, or was that somebody that just came to the realization like, hey, I got to figure out something different? Can I go get another form?
It's like a child walking around and pretty much you give them $1, say that's their allowance, and you take them to the candy store and everything in the candy store is priced at $5 and above. Typically the child is going to be sad, and because you can't afford anything. You can buy anything that you can with your own money. If you don't have enough money to buy it, unfortunately you don't get it. So I could see her on her face, and she was with her friend, and her friend, of course, made 6 figures, so she could afford her insurance with no problem. And she was like, well, I can't even afford this. And I'm like, well, let's take a look at it. Like, maybe we can restructure your budget to potentially save you some more money so that you're able to take care of yourself and your child in a time of need. There was no restructuring her budget. She was already spread too thin. So she was like, well, can I change jobs? Absolutely. Nobody told you had to be stuck being a cashier your entire life. Nobody's forcing you to do that. If you want to go get another career for yourself so that you can live more comfortably, pursue it. It's out there for you.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And that's interesting you talk about life choices, because there was a sibling group in there. And again, I think one of the sisters only made $29,000. The other, again, was about 59 or something. But the one making 29, was talking about she didn't need housing. She's going to live with her sister.
There you go.
So you think about it. I said, so how you feel about that? And the sister said, oh, yeah, she can stay with me. And I said, you guys are going to get along and everything. And she said, fine. But to Terrence's point, that's a real life decision that people can make. You're going to sleep with a family member, do what you have to do until you're able to get on your feet.
Did you ask her if she was going to make her kick in, though?
We talked about that, and she said, hey, the big sister said she's fine. Yeah. And I said, okay, everything sounds good. But again, I mean, these are real life situations that we see all the time. So, and the other thing you ask about, did these kids know that? No, we let them bump their head. Unless they came to our first 2 workshops in which, Terrence had talked about budgeting and things. It was an actual application. Some of them, this was their first time. They heard about the reality store and wanted to be a part. Now, when we do it in the future, and actually when we typically do it, there are classes that are taught. We kind of have a discussion beforehand, and then you can do a breakdown after. And I do have some ideas, moving forward when we do this again, with taking it to the next level where we can teach and kind of do some things. I'm thinking about inviting, members from the community around different careers and whatnot. And you go and you talk to them basically like an interview, and you choose your job and see what kind of careers. And then we go off of that and then, go through it and then debriefing. But when we debrief after that, it's beautiful. And again, I tell everybody, this might be the world's toughest teacher. But Terrence is talking. It isn't about, you have some kids who, had $6,000, $7,000 left over, and they wanted to pat themselves
know what
on
to
the
do
back.
with. Yeah, more money to know what to do with.
So, Terrence's number one thing was, hold on. So you got all this money. Why do you need this money? The really, if you're winning, it was to have $0 at the end of the day. You wanted to have so much, you utilize your money and then had whatever was in savings. And we actually ended up giving out $5 to anybody who had zero budget. So
now, did we make it known beforehand that was kind of the goal, is to have 0 at the end, or we just kind of let them just figure that out?
Kind of let them do their own thing.
Let them figure it out.
Yeah, just like when we go back towards the end, we were asking people, how much money did you have left over? We had people with $6,000, $7,000, $5,000 left over. And I'm like, okay, why you got so much money left over? And I'm like, oh, I'm going to spend that on myself.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, before we dive into that, how much money are you putting in your savings? They're like, oh, I'm saving like $150 a month.
but you got 6,000 to spend.
Yeah, so I'm like, so what are you doing with that 5,000? Oh, I'm spending that on myself. You need to blow $5,000 a month on yourself.
And they all skip the investment table.
Yes, and I'm like, you have the money. I remember I actually I don't want to say the word tricked because it sounds wrong, but one of the girls had about $7,000 left over. I said, go ahead and write my name on that line. I said, and put that $7,000. I said, I'll take that as charity. I said, you don't need that. I think it was nice again to like pretty much once we explained that, hey, if you have the capability of saving more than what you absolutely need to, I'm like, that is what you should be doing. It's just like the scenario we had the random event table where anything could happen, bone breaking, speeding ticket, hospital bill, things like that. And we would ask them, I'm like, okay, so you save $100 every single month. In 1 year, you save $1,200 versus the $60,000 a year that you're wasting on yourself. So what happens if your roof caves in?
Yeah.
You just brought up something that we forgot, and that was a crucial table, the unexpected events table. So you reached in, and literally the scenario we had, somebody got all this amount of money, you reach in there, a couple guys had speeding tickets. It's like, oh man, it was however much money, a couple of people had, different repairs and whatnot. But again, it was a slap in the face because even the people that thought they had it all together and they were navigating their budget, and then they reach in that box and you can see the look on their face like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So,
but even when they're sitting there budgeting, they did that. They got $6,000 left over. They're still not saving because they don't realize that that unexpected expense doesn't always come one time. There's not only one unexpected expense, 2, 3, or when things start rolling downhill, going bad for you. You never know. But that was a great point that you talked about at the end there, which was, you got all this extra money, you should really be at zero by the end of the day.
Yep. And another big thing that we touched on, I asked the youth what their definition of a safety net was, which that was another thing that they weren't really that familiar with. They thought they had the concept of what it was, which we had somebody that got close to it. But after explaining what a safety net was, I seen the light bulbs click. Like, of course, you can have all this extra money to blow on yourself, but if you get those random events that take place, say your car breaks down or your roof falls in, if you're wasting all the money that you have available to you now on things that you don't need and your savings isn't large enough to take care of you if you lose your job or you can't work anymore, you should reevaluate your budget.
Yeah. And talking about the demographic that was there, we had ages ranging from 5 on up to, I don't even know how old, right? We had older folks there
high
as
school.
well. So.
Actually, yeah, we had graduates from high school. So I had a young lady that was, she's going to be a freshman in college. So.
Well, we had some grandparents there too.
Grandparents. Yeah. I mean, we promoted it as a family activity, and it was good. And it was, to see moms interacting, like you said, and grandmoms interacting with their kids. And just hearing the commentary, I mean, it was a great family time. And, like I was telling Ben beforehand, to hear some of the kids, I heard some, kids out in the hallway say, man, this is what it's going to be like to be an adult. I don't want to be an adult because everything we talk about, this is play. And and as Terry said, light bulbs are going off like, man, this is what my people do every single day. And I got to make these decisions. So
I tell my kids that all the time. You complain about being in school. Every single adult would rather go back to being in school than be responsible financially for the bills. Let me go back to school and I'll live off my parents forever there. One of the things I noticed, I was having a conversation with 3 young gentlemen that were there. Asked them why they came. They'd mentioned that they were there filling in for their grandma, right? Their grandma, based upon living conditions, qualify for subsidized housing, I guess. Had to come to courses like this to kind of get credit for that. Unfortunately, she was ill, so they were coming to kind of fill in for her. Do you want to kind of talk about the partnership we have and, for our listeners out there that attend these events, if they're kind of in that same situation?
Yeah, I was going to say, we had just went to a Habitat for Humanity, Habitat of Greater Fort Wayne, went to an orientation for some families. And we're in a partnership now to do financial literacy and all the different pillars that we have. We can step in and assist these families. So Habitat has kind of, made it their charge that any event that we're doing, if one of their families, come, they get credit for that. Because, anytime you're doing a Habitat home, there's sweat equity hours and so many hours of counseling and training that you have to do. So the fact that, Habitat can look at us as an accredited trainer and allow families to take advantage. That's exactly what happened. We had families that took advantage of that. So
that's awesome. And we fed everybody afterwards, right?
Oh, everybody
Yeah,
always
stuck
eats good.
around afterward
Everybody's
and had
good.
some food and some good conversation afterwards. So it was a great time. That was the third in the series, right?
Correct.
But we're going to start another one up here. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, well, we'll take this month off to regroup, get with the Mind Trust, and we'll get off back to on the adult side. And again, we say the adult side, but again, we like it to be, family. I would love for some of the young people that came through USense to be sitting there next to their family members on the adult side for financial literacy and mental state of mind. And just to refresh our audience on what we do at these workshops, we'll tie in the mental health component to financial literacy as well, because, they go hand in hand. And those will be kicking off, in September. So I want to say the 13th, but I'll give you the actual date. Again, we got another segment here this month that we can, promo, but it's coming up in September. Be ready to be on a Saturday, and it'll be a Saturday evening, 6 to 8. So,
Gotcha. Before we maybe move on, anybody miss anything with the reality store that you want to talk about? Experiences, anything
well,
like
let's
that?
let Ben get a chance to talk. And I know, you can speak to youth literacy.
Yeah, really sounds like a commendable event. Great job, everybody. Sounds like if I was there, I would have gone into Terrence's desk and realized like, oh, I need to change my job or something. But really well done. And I'm appreciative of the fact that there were, impactful things, especially with the kids learning about real money, real budgeting, getting to have like a real adult experience, knowing that, oh, there's actual value for money to buy things. There's things like insurance, there's things like a job, a salary, a wage, budgeting. And so I can't wait to join the next one. Yeah.
Okay. And I'm going to say this too before we move on. I think the biggest testament is, at the end when I ask people, hey, how many of you guys wanted to come here? And, nobody wanted to come here. How many of you guys had fun doing this or got something out of it? We got, 90% of the hands went up for the kids. So, that right there in itself, again, I speak to the young people. You don't always know what you don't know. So come and find out and do things different. And also I challenge the parents to make sure that you push your kids. Don't let them say, oh, no, I don't want to do that, or they don't need that. These are things, again, we understand we all were young once. We're all in positions to where we see what happens when our kids aren't educated and they step off into, they come to visit us at our different institutions. We're just trying to help them get that leg up. So again, if you can give them that little nudge and you get them there and you get them participating, we're going to get them some knowledge, but we also know there needs to be some fun with it. So
Yeah, actually, I wasn't sure what to expect. I know you kind of explained it, but going into it and then seeing the setup and everything, and once you got into it, the role playing of being a cell phone salesman, welcome to, whatever. It was a lot of fun, and you could see that with the kids. I love your idea about expanding on that, maybe making it a little bit more of an extended experience where they actually start off with interviewing for some different jobs and then getting those jobs and then moving into like those real life decisions. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
You got to even be more immersed in fun.
there you go.
Yep.
And you stepped off into a whole nother side, because our staff and getting back, the kids got a lot out of it, but it's a very rewarding experience for everybody that participated, the adults on this side of the table. And you wouldn't believe the number of emails and people that pass me, when I see them when I visit the different branches, and they talk about what a great time they had and how much they enjoy being a part of those. We've had volunteers from Lake City that worked at 2 of the 3 of our workshops just because it meant that much to them. So, shout out to anybody, shout out to the staff that helped, and anybody else that wants to volunteer, in the future.
Yeah, awesome. So I know you wanted to touch on a couple things and kind of switch courses right into ACH transactions.
Yeah, I thinking of our staff, talked to our teller team and our branch out of Jefferson, and they were, just wanted to educate people and talked about some of the issues that they have. I said we can kick it over here to our right on our retail side and let these guys talk a little bit about ACH debits and credits and, some of the pitfalls and benefits and just, things that people would need to know.
Absolutely. So for us would be mainly when you think about daily bills or loan payment, car payments, all that. With the ACH debit, so a lot of people, when they go to buy a car or they're getting a loan, they're asked, would you like to maintain auto pay? And they're giving out their routing account and their account number. So that would be more so of an ACH debit, where come the due date, they don't have to do anything. The money's taken out automatically. And so mainly that really comes in handy with budgeting, because that's where you have to look at the month, really understand your payroll cycle, and getting to know exactly when you're paying and how much you're paying to avoid overdraft fee. It's a convenient feature, especially with the ACH debits, since it helps you get caught up with your monthly payments. But at the same time, it can be an inconvenience, because there's an issue where you could get caught up with overdraft fees if your bank assesses overdraft fees, or even a return payment if by chance the merchant you're paying gets the payment bounce.
So would you say it's more crucial if you're setting up for ACH, like for your monthly bill? So for instance, in the Reality Store, I'm selling cell phone plans to somebody, right?
Right.
They're sitting there writing down, $109 a month, but actually going in, budgeting that to know that it's going to be coming out of my bank account every
Absolutely.
single month without me proactively doing that.
Yes.
How crucial is that budgeting wise to make sure the money's there?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. So it works in as an advantage, because Ryan, if you have auto pay, you don't have to do anything. It's taken care of automatically. So that's an added advantage. So the crucial part will be the budgeting part, like you mentioned, really making sure that you understand your payroll cycle, you understand how much money you have on your account and the due dates, and really making sure that if you have multiple payments coming out of your account, you already know exactly how much they are and how much you have in your account. When it comes to ACH credits, really that's easy. It's money coming into your account, no foul with that. But I'm particularly focused with ACH debits, because that really helps us keep track of what's in our account.
It kind of makes sure your bills are getting paid. But I like what you said about it's crucial to understand your pay cycle, right? Because if you have some other expenses there, the money's there, and you spend that,
Right.
and then all of a sudden that bill comes out, that ACH is coming out whether you have the money in there or not.
Yes.
It's just whether it's overdrawing your account and getting charged fees for that, right?
Yeah, yes. Yes. And also understanding additional tools that your financial institution has, right? So like things like online banking, phone bank. And so that helps us to really keep track of the balances that are available in your account, helps someone to monitor the activity to make sure the payment really came out. Make sure to look at the activity and make sure that the payment bounce. And if it bounces, they may do a second trial, and that's a second chance to make a deposit to make sure that that payment goes through. Over the years, we've had the experiences where someone would assume I have my payment on auto pay, so it is paid, and they do not monitor. And there comes the payment, it's trying to be taken out, and it bounces, and it starts affecting someone's credit report because the payment was not made. And so just making sure that we not only set up the auto pay, the ACH debit in itself, but we're monitoring it. We're making sure that the payment is going out. The person is making sure that there are funds in the account and it got out there in time. And what I particularly recommend would be making sure that they not only look at their bank account in itself, but for instance, if it's a utility payment, make sure they have a login or they're keeping track with their statements. They're able to see to make sure that what's reflecting at their bank is also reflecting with their merchant. So if it's a car payment, it's reflecting on their bank account as paid, and also logging in with their auto loan financial provider to make sure that that payment went out, posted as well.
So you hit on both things. I'm glad you said that. It's monitored by both sides, the financial institution and that individual personally. Because so many times, especially, it's funny because we talked about young people, but even older folks, they'll say, I'm on auto pay. I don't have to pay any bills. I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. And they're not monitoring anything.
Yeah.
And that's the importance of monitoring your own account, making sure that something's not getting charged there, that's not coming out that you didn't know about, and making sure that payment goes through. So you touched on two things, actually, that I really did want to emphasize.
Awesome.
So my take on the ACH, first off, the ACH stands for the Automated Clearinghouse. Essentially, it is a way for banks, credit unions, and other financial institutions to essentially send electronic funds between one institution to another in large groups of batches. Essentially, what that does is it's an easier way for people to receive their payments. If you are familiar with direct deposit, that is an ACH credit. Essentially, those individuals that are out there that typically get paper checks, of course, once you get that check, you do have to wait to deposit it. Typically, you do have to wait a processing day to even get access to those funds. Essentially, having an ACH credit allows you to get access to your funds immediately upon payday. Essentially, some people that get paid on Friday, typically your funds are in your account by midnight on that Friday. That is because that ACH has gone into your account. When it comes to credits, you can get reimbursements, you can get payments, you can get payroll. Essentially, an ACH credit is the quickest way for you to get money directly sent to your account. Anybody that has had an insurance check from a car accident, sometimes you can either get the check cut to you or you can have them send the money directly to your bank account. It is just dependent upon you, of course. As Ben did hit on, those ACH transactions do require your account and routing number that is linked directly to you. Of course, that is the only way that those funds will be able to get put directly into your account. And essentially what happens is it's the bank sending your money electronically to your account. So you physically don't have to be involved in that transaction whatsoever.
I got two questions for you guys that people should know. And I think Ben might have hit on it a little bit, but all financial institutions, do some charge for ACH? I mean, are there different fees that people should be aware of? And then the other question is, if there's a dispute on a charge, how long does the bank have to react?
Ooh, that is a great question. Starting off with the charging for the ACH debits and credits, typically your financial institutions do not charge for those. I do know it is dependent upon a financial institution if they would like to charge for those. But essentially receiving ACH credits or even signing up for bill pay, essentially, which would be like the ACH debits out to any creditors or debitors that you owe. That typically does not cost you anything. It is a free service that financial institutions typically provide for you to help you maintain your budget better. Now, if we're talking about actual disputes for transactions, are we talking about ACH debits, ACH credits that you want to dispute?
Yeah, somebody got access to my card or something on there that's showing up that.
So typically with ACH disputes, it's black and white. There's typically not a gray area when it comes to ACH. It's because, again, like Ben said, you are actively giving out your account and routing number. Nobody just has that information willy-nilly. You would have to willingly give somebody your account and routing number. So essentially, if you claim that there's been fraud or a dispute from an ACH transaction, we're going to look at the fact of how the merchant received your account and routing number. It's not something that the merchant would ever have. So it's either you gave it to them or somebody else gave it to them. And at that point, your account has been compromised and you need to get a new account. Essentially, those disputes have very fast turnarounds. Mm-hmm. Because again, you are linking your specific account to something. It's not like a debit card, because if, for example, if I steal your debit card and then I go swipe it and I'm charging it, okay, they just know that the debit cards have been used. They don't know that you specifically used that debit card or not, or if I used it. They just know that the purchase has been made. That's where that extra research has to come in. That's why those disputes typically take longer than ACH disputes. Now, if you link your bank account to Walmart.com and $700 gets charged to your account and you say it wasn't you, okay, well, who linked your account and routing number to Walmart.com? Did you give that information out to somebody to do it, or did you do it yourself?
I was hacked.
Yeah, it was hacked.
You were hacked, and at that point, your account had been compromised.
Yeah, there you go.
Would you say typically when you do receive disputes on there, it's not usually from a hacking standpoint, but usually from a, hey, I had business with this institution, but I canceled that business,
that
right?
is
but they're still pulling.
Majority of what they are.
They're coming to you first, when in all actuality, they need to go back to the merchant that's pulled it because they didn't stop it and have them recredit that back. Would that be what you
that is? I will say that is probably 80 to 90% of the disputes that I've heard that are ACH related. Essentially, they wanted to cut their subscription and they're still getting charged for it. Okay, why are you not contacting the merchant? Mm-hmm. Tell them that you would like to cancel your subscription. And that is typically one of the first questions that I ask. When did you try to contact the merchant to cancel the subscription? You can come to the bank and just tell them that you want to prevent them from pulling money out of your account. Yeah, we can do that for you. We can put a stop pay on it. But also at the same time, you need to be letting the merchant know that you no longer want their services. They're going to keep trying to keep pulling it from you unless you tell them that you no longer want it. It's the same thing with a cell phone bill or Wi-Fi or car payments or anything like that. You set it up for ACH payments. You gave them your account and routing number. Mm-hmm. When it's time for them to get their payment, they're going to go in and pull their payment. Mm-hmm. You go to your bank and you tell them that you want to reject this merchant from taking money out of your account. Okay, yeah, we can do that, but if it's an authorized ACH debit, there's not typically much that they can do about it because you've authorized them to go in your account and take your funds.
But that is a real situation that happens all the time. Is you have, let's say you have insurance through one carrier and you have it set up for auto pay, then you change insurance carriers. You might have canceled that policy, but there's two different ends to it. There's the person you're talking to cancel policy, and then they have to report that on up to their ACH department to stop the payments. And unfortunately, that happens a lot where that part of it doesn't happen. So you could realistically see it keep coming out. So that's why it's important to maintain your account and watch what's coming in and out, not just take for granted. Oh, well, I called my agent and canceled it and just assume that it's not going to be charged, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys run that all the time.
Absolutely. And then just another thing is making sure that at least if you discontinue service, someone is communicating to that merchant and letting them know. But also in addition to know that if they continue charging you, you have FDIC coverage, and every client has an opportunity to go into the bank and do what is called a merchant stop. I'm not sure about other financial institutions, but at our institution, someone can come in and really say, I have stopped service. We don't have to ask for proof that they stopped service, and we can do what is called a merchant block, and that is blocking that merchant from taking money from that person's account. There's also ACH fraud, and which happens mainly would be through maybe check mishandling, or maybe check lost in mail, or check never received. And so just keeping in mind that if by chance, if you lose your direct deposit slip, or if you lose your checks, your routing and account number is there. Someone has your information, someone has your zip code, and they have an opportunity to log in as an imposter and start charging your account automatically through that. So ACH fraud happens that way sometimes. And it's really important to know that, okay, if that happens, your account has been compromised, levels will be talking to your financial institution, which most likely what they would recommend would be closing your account and opening a new one. Getting that settled in that way. But also, while we talked about ACH payment, I wanted to talk about also POS system, which would be debit card payment system. And so sometimes when we go through merchants, they allow us to make payments through either our account number and routing number, or sometimes we can give them our debit card number. And that's how sometimes auto pay comes through our debit card. And so with that, it works really well. But really remembering that the debit card is an access link to your account. It's not your account number. It's not your account number. And so this is for our viewers to know that in case they lose their debit card or they close their debit card, they need to re-update that with the merchant. With the merchant.
Yep.
Yeah, because I've seen it happen where someone has auto pay through their debit card. They lost their debit card, they closed it, or their debit card expired, they received a new one, and their payment stopped.
Yep.
So if somebody loses their debit card, are they at risk of somebody having access to their account information based off what you just said? Because I mean, there's a lot of people, that's what they fear. I don't use a debit card because somebody can wipe out my account.
So their debit card is linked to their checking account. And so if they lose their debit card, they're at risk of having someone using their debit card to make purchases. And so they do have every bank provides FDIC coverage up to $250,000, and so that's just a knowledge for our viewers to know. If they lose their debit card, the key thing will be contacting the bank as soon as possible, getting that card closed, and one would be ordered immediately.
Yeah, I know from my time in the retail, a lot of clients operate on the standpoint of like, well, there's no urgency to cancel or close it because if something happens, my bank will give me the money back.
Yeah.
Right. And in all reality, they have fraud coverage on there that banks are required to do a certain amount of things for them. But, the bank giving you your money back doesn't come at no cost.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's still a loss to the bank.
Right.
Which increases costs across the board for
Absolutely.
everything. Right.
Yeah.
So it is still the responsibility of the consumer out there. If you lose your debit card, right, do something about it right away.
Right.
If you can't find it, call your bank, have them put a little block on it. I don't know about all banks, but with mine, you can go on there and you can lock your debit card. So I do it all the time. I'm coaching baseball. I put my debit card in my pocket because I want to carry my wallet, and I come out and I can't find my debit card. I immediately get on my phone. I lock my debit card. So if somebody has it, they can't use it. Then I go back and try finding it, right? But you typically know
feature.
within a short period of time if you're going to find that card or not. And if you can't, contact your bank, have them cancel it, and get you a new one, right?
Right on, yes.
Yep. Terrence, anything to add to that?
I would like to say with the debit cards, it just depends on your financial institution. Some debit cards can be linked across multiple accounts. I would also take a look and make sure that you are consciously aware of what your debit card limits are. Some financial institutions allow you to spend up to $2,000 a day at a point of sale. That's what POS stands for, point of sale. And those devices, essentially, making sure that you're just conscious of if you do misplace your debit card and you don't immediately take actions against it, the limit ranges on your debit card typically are basically going to measure how much damage can be done to your account. Essentially, one thing that I always tell my clients, don't keep more money in your checking account than what you absolutely need for the month. Of course, if you got $15,000+ or even just multiple hundreds of dollars in your checking account and you know that you don't need to use that immediately, why is it in your checking account and not in your savings? Essentially, you're putting yourself at less risk by keeping less funds in your checking account that your debit card is linked to. So say you have $30 in your checking account and JJ likes to be a big baller and walk around with $15K in his checking account, but you both get your debit card stolen.
Yeah. Just joking. I have no idea about his finances, but he looks like he does.
Right.
Yeah.
And so in that situation, okay, so say they both get their debit card stolen and the person's just going out, try to willy-nilly make purchases. Okay. Say they both don't realize that their debit cards have been stolen and somebody's been using them. Okay. Ben's debit card is only linked to his checking. Same thing with JJ's. Okay. So the $30 that Ben had, okay, that's been used. Now his transactions are getting declined. At most,
Listen,
you lost $30.
With my $30, there's already 29 pending, so it's only $1.
Exactly. His debit card is not doing anything because he doesn't keep that much money in a checking account, essentially. Now, JJ, on the other hand, if that man's just swiping away and the purchases are getting approved, your money's just slowly dwindling down because that's where it's all at. I mean, so just from a standpoint of keeping what you need accessible to you when you need it.
Right.
That's the importance of having a saving. Why are you keeping excess money in an area that you don't need to have it in?
And just to add on it is you're earning interest on your savings account, even if it's small.
Even if
there
it's
is, even if it's pennies, there is some interest in there. And if you have online banking, like Terrence mentioned, is it's so convenient. You can just transfer from savings to checking instantly and start and continue spending. So.
Yep.
Limit
And
how
it's a great
much money.
budgeting tool. Like
Right.
I said, I when money comes in, I have a certain amount. It goes into my savings account and it stays there because as the week goes and my checking account dwindles down to zero, I know I'm not touching this money over here.
Yeah.
Right. So then I start budgeting towards the end of the week I don't get paid for a couple more days. So I might not be going out to eat tonight or I might not be doing this. Right. It's a budgeting tool as well. So, gentlemen, great conversation. Running up on time here, but JJ, I know we wanted to promote the sports seminar coming up.
Yes, sir. Sports seminar coming up August 23rd, Indiana Tech, 9 o'clock to about 1 o'clock. There's flyers out there. Check our Facebook page. But plenty of professional athletes and athletes that have excelled at high levels. A lot of sports performers, all aspects of the industry of sports. So it's going to be a great time. Any athlete that's out there, junior high athlete, high school athletes, we reached out with all the Fort Wayne community schools, Northwest Allen, Southwest Allen. Again, open it all to all athletes to participate. Any families that want to come out there, it's going to be an excellent time. Just a workshop, talking, like I said, A's to Z's to through sports. So come on out and enjoy yourself. So rub shoulders with some Fort Wayne's finest athletes that have ever left this city, as well as some of the greatest minds around this city, all things associated with athletes.
Yep, some of our guests have been guests on our show as well. Fort Wayne Up Close. I know I had Bobby Petrus on, former Major League Baseball player Josh Van Meter. You had Trey Essex, right? Former NFL player. And then also your brother's been on the show with you, right?
Correct. Tracy. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And then, and honestly, it's a good day on the 23rd. There's a lot of different stuff going on. So you guys know me. I've got some different guys that may or may not be in town. So come on out and join in the fun. You never know who's gonna be there, who's gonna make a visit.
Yep, August 23rd, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Right?
9 to 2.
Indiana
Yes, sir.
time. So, gentlemen, we're gonna get out of here today. Thank you very much for man Terrence, Ben, JJ. I'm Ryan. We are Our Neutral Voices. Peace.